Founded in 1972, Marshall Fleet Solutions are the UK's largest independent refrigeration, tail lift, commercial vehicle fleet service and support organisation. The company have a diverse business model, including sale, installation and maintenance of refrigeration and tail lift units and parts, and fleet management for over 2,500 vehicles. During the pandemic, Marshall Fleet Solutions' technology and expertise played a vital role in helping supermarkets and logistics companies deliver food and medical supplies to people who were isolating or shielding. As the company has grown, they have also launched a renewables division to drive innovation in the refrigerated vehicles market with green diesel and solar technologies. I caught up with Lewis Bryan, Marshall Fleet Solutions FP&A Manager, to discuss their move from spreadsheet-based planning and forecast processes to our fast financial solution, an out-the-box planning, reporting and cash flow solution built on IBM Planning Analytics with Watson. In our discussion, we talk about Marshall Fleet Solutions' initial challenges, how the project went and what they're up to now.
So historically, all of our forecasting and budgeting and even kind of management account processes all Excel based, and it meant we had a number of really large files. So Marshall Fleet Solutions cover quite a wide range of services and products. We have our fridge, thermaking, dealer business, tail lift, fleet management, and now renewables, and installs as well. So it's lots of different bits of the business that all we kind of need to bring together in the forecasting and budgeting process, and doing that through Excel, the files just became massive and really unwieldy. So I think our actual budget and forecast spreadsheet had over 50 tabs, because we were trying to calculate various sort of bits of the business and then use formulas to try and pull them onto one summary page. And as we sort of started trying to improve the budgeting process, bring the business in more and add more detail to it, it then meant that there were sort of satellite spreadsheets around this big one that we then tried to pull in. So it made it really difficult to track kind of where we were in the process, and also just updating anything was it just became a really sort of cumbersome task. We then had the management accounts, which were also based in Excel, so we then had to use formulas to try and link to the budget and forecast spreadsheets. But of course, every time you roll a new, so if you roll in from the 3+9 to 6+6, or budget into forecast, you then had to go back and update loads of formulas and things in there. So doing quick comparisons and variance analysis was also quite difficult, and looking back further than sort of the previous forecast, comparing forecasts to each other was difficult. Constantly we were having references break and formulas pointing to the wrong cells, or if you add a new sort of nominal ledger code, you then have to manually map that in across a number of different spreadsheets. So it just would become too cumbersome and too difficult for us to manage in a way that it didn't become a process of just updating spreadsheets, rather than actually trying to drive the business with the budgeting and forecasting process. So at a really simple level, we're mainly fast financials here, because our structure within Planning Analytics is purely fast financials. The main thing it did is just bring everything into one place. So you're looking on one screen for budget, 3+9, 6+6, and flicking between those is really easy. It changed some of the structures around what we were doing, so things like being able to report on specific cost centres quite quickly. That made a big difference. Being able to look back historically and do different comparatives really helped as well, just because everything's in one place. So you just change in one parameter and it automatically updates everything, rather than relying on lots of formulas pulling through. The fact that we also have the supplementary information around that all pull into the model kind of automatically. So the gross margin cube, we kind of put our sort of unit sales forecast in a separate cube, and for our sort of after sales and service sales, we can build that up by customer and bring in like a granular level of forecasting at that level, but it's automatically then just into the profit and loss model. So it just removes all of that effort in sort of administrating the models, rather than now we kind of can focus more on actually what what are the numbers we're putting in, and how we want to use those to, I guess, like support, the business, that then they can go on and provide better service to customers. So this was the one bit where my kind of original expectations were a bit different to the reality. So it took longer and was probably more work than I expected, but I don't necessarily say that as a negative, because I think at the very beginning of the project we didn't fully understand everything that the planning analytics could do and the power of it. So we obviously had the demos and things, and seeing the kind of just the front end, it makes everything look quite simple, but actually the back end and the setup was a lot of work and making sure that we got everything right. But I think that's kind of been a positive, because there's a lot more that you can do with it than kind of we were expecting. So it really made us just think about the structure of the way we're setting things up, because we needed to actually really think about our account level structure, the cost center structure, we sort of report on products now within gross margin, and cutting it across. So I guess when I first started, I just thought we'd kind of do a rough mapping of our nominal and then dump it in and it would be there set up. But actually it has the flexibility that you build the structures really specifically the business. So I would say we started the project in sort of March 2021, and we were fully up and running for our sort of 9+3 and budget towards the end of 2021. So it was 6 months to get sort of the basic fast financials template set up, and all our numbers in it, and the history and the planning elements as well. There's the reporting element, which is building the structure and putting your numbers in, but then there is also the forecasting element, which is structuring things like building your forward-looking and how you want to embed those. And I guess every business is different in terms of how they recognise sales and what they're needing to plan. So actually, there's that level of flexibility there that took quite a lot of work to set up. But that was a lot of work from the Aramar side as well. That it is a product that comes out of the box, but it's actually there are elements of it that are quite sort of bespoke to what we needed. Yeah, it is a project that you need to, I think, set the time aside for and do properly to get the most out of it. The other just slight expectation that I would set, and I found, is you sort of have to be willing to take steps back sometimes as well. I think because it's a product that I've not used before, you kind of get deep into something that you think is set up how you want, but then your understanding of the product changes and you realise that it has, say, something else that you want it to do, but because you've already structured it in a certain way, you can't quite do that. So there are elements of, I guess, sort of expecting to unwind some of the work you do to do it in a way that you prefer or that works. I guess it can you can get more functionality out of it. Now that we're up and running, the forecasting process is much quicker. So straight away you don't have to. You're not rolling anything forward. You're not having to restart spreadsheets and get them back to like a year beginning position. You're just carrying on, and also having like all the comparatives and all the actuals already in there. It saves a lot of time in that. So straight away we kind of go in and focus on forecasting itself, I suppose. With the one, and then obviously trying to move then towards a bit more of a rolling sort of forecast process. So right in the old world, you have to go in and manually at the end of each month put all of the actual numbers in to see where your sort of year-end number was heading, which just took so long that you kind of didn't really do it. You just did it every quarter. Whereas what this now will allow us to do is constantly have an eye on not just current month, but also the year end, and it's not just every quarter. So that's something that we're really looking to try and now utilise it for. In terms of reporting as well, we can use Planning Analytics for Excel. So we've set up a lot of the templates, and rather than having to completely change formulas or things, if you want to say have a different comparative, or if you're doing a forecast pack versus a budget pack, we've literally just got some drop down boxes that you change what you want the reports, and then it all pulls directly through from the live database into into Excel so that the risk of errors must have gone down. We're able to get things out more quickly, so we're focusing on, again, providing analysis rather than just trying to get numbers together. And then in terms of kind of where we are now, it's focusing on trying to automate some of the planning processes as well, rather than manually updating every employee in the business on a spreadsheet to work out what your staff costs are going to be. We're trying to build models now within Planning Analytics that will calculate that for us on an ongoing basis and start to automate some of the planning, because we're not just focused on managing spreadsheets. And that's one of the, I guess, the other things that I found useful with Fast Financials is it is a model and it's set, but actually lots of the processes and the dimensions are already there that you can kind of utilise and change to add in additional bits and pieces, so like uploading data, for example, or there's blank processes and you just tweak those for what you want to do. And like I said, a lot of the dimensions are in there, so actually you just add in like your measures dimensions or a couple of other bits that you need, but you're not having to build everything from scratch. A lot of the bits that you can kind of step on from are already there. Key thing now is we've got everything in one place and all of the kind of the numbers are in there, and at the moment it's very much like an input tool and then an output tool to get reporting and things out of. So the next step is now automating as much as possible so that it becomes then just a rolling kind of monthly process of updating our key drivers or kind of key plans, and then that kind of rolls forward and out for the next three or 18 months or 3 years. That then sort of pushes out our numbers of where we think we're going to be. So it becomes much more of we kind of lose the typical budgeting and forecasting process, and it actually is just embedded in our sort of month-to-month, day-to-day, what we're doing. Every time something changes or we know something changes, it's able to be quickly updated in the model without having to go in and change individual numbers. So there's still elements that we kind of work on spreadsheets and then inputs. For me, it's just automation and adding models for things like salary costs, engineering resources. So we have around 170 engineers, mobile engineers that are out, and the key part of our planning is knowing how many hours that we have available to sell or to utilise, how many we think we need, and making sure that we have the right level of resource to be able to give our customers the best service that we can. It boils down to how much resource we have and how much resource we then need, and making sure that they're kind of matched as efficiently as possible. And that is planning, isn't it? It's if you're planning to grow your business in 24 months' time, if you want to grow by X%, well, we need to know what resource we need to be able to achieve those plans. And I think that kind of summarises the planning process, I guess, which is what we want to then build it into as a more holistic planning tool, rather than just going from submitting 3 forecasts and a budget every year with some numbers to actually it's a complete sort of planning tool. So it kind of not just a financial sort of tool, it becomes then operationally focused as well, and helps our teams to plan and maximise our service.
A huge thank you to Lewis for sharing his experience. I hope you found that interview interesting. If you'd like to find out more about Marshall Fleet Solutions, our work together, or more information about Aramar, you can visit our website at aramar.co.uk or message us. Thanks for watching.